Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. Taylor Hayes blames Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan for Ridge's cold feet. Taylor Hayes accuses Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan of spoiling her wedding to Ridge at B&B. Will her frantic allegations reveal the truth about their manipulation? There are some shocking spoilers inside. B&B shocking. Taylor Hayes blames Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan for Ridge's cold feet. TLDR. On the bold and the beautiful. Taylor Hayes accuses Eric Forrester of influencing Ridge into leaving their wedding and Brooke Logan of using her influence to steal Ridge back as Taylor tries to keep her engagement. The gloves are off. Taylor's had enough. Oh, my gosh. Taylor Hayes has finally said what we've all been thinking. Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan are completely sabotaging her wedding to Ridge Forrester. And you know what? She is not wrong. After seeing Friday's show, I'm still trying to understand Taylor's emotional devastation. The woman is seeing her dreams fall in real time, and she knows exactly who to blame. This isn't paranoia. This is a woman who has been down this road before and knows the warning signs. What happens at Taylor Hayes and Ridge's wedding? Ridge Forrester will officially cancel the wedding during the week of September 8th to 12th, confirming Taylor's darkest concerns concerning Eric and Brooke's involvement. The writing has been on the wall since Eric's short father-son chat with Ridge on September 4th. And by chat, I mean the most manipulative guilt trip I've witnessed in years. Eric basically told Ridge that his destiny was always with Brooke. Not suggested, not hinted, told him. Can we discuss the audacity? Taylor immediately realized something was wrong. She's been urgently trying to nail Ridge down on a wedding date, but he continues avoiding her as if she's asking him to sign his life away. Is Eric really telling Ridge to choose Brooke? Yes, on the September 4th episode, Eric Forrester specifically urged Ridge to leave Taylor for Brooke, arguing that Brooke is the woman he genuinely desires. This was not subtle, folks. Eric simply channeled his inner puppet master and tugged every thread he could find. He encouraged Ridge not to base his future on what Thomas or Steffi wanted, therefore rejecting his own grandchildren's happiness, and shoved him towards Brooke. What about the next day? Ridge felt haunted by Daddy's words. Haunted. And are we supposed to believe this is about Ridge's happiness? Please. Eric has been on Team Brooke since the beginning of time. The man was married to her, for crying out loud. He is the father to 2 of her children. His allegiance to the Logan clan goes deeper than the Mariana Trench. Is Brooke actively attempting to take Ridge back? Brooke Logan has been persistently chasing Ridge, reminding him of commitments made in Italy and hoping with her sister Katie that he will return to her. Brooke has been putting in extra effort with her destiny remarks, which surprises no one. I mean, the woman holds a PhD in Ridge manipulation. She understands exactly which buttons to press, what memories to evoke, and what promises to remind him of. The trip to Italy keeps coming up, and Brooke is brandishing it like a sword. Thomas Forrester saw straight through it the second he returned from Paris. He quickly confronted Brooke about attempting to steal his father away from his mother. So what did Brooke do? Playing innocent? Act surprised. Girl, we have been watching this show for decades. We know your strategy. What happens next for Taylor, Ridge, and this mess? Here's where it gets very juicy. Could this be Taylor finally snapping and doing something drastic? Given her past as Ridge's perpetual second choice, don't be surprised if she chooses to fight fire with fire. This is potential vengeance, romance territory. Some admirers believe Nick Marone's comeback is not coincidental. Could Taylor decide to give Ridge a taste of his own medicine? Or, and this would be epic, what if she goes to Bill Spencer? Talk about hitting Ridge where it hurts. Given Ridge's propensity of waffling, he'll most certainly return to Brooke after some dramatic occurrence that causes him to realize she is his destiny. Again, for the millionth time. Don't be surprised if we see another old soap trope. Amnesia, anyone? A opportune fall that causes Ridge to forget his affections for Taylor? It's been done before, and these writers aren't above rehashing their biggest hits. Nobody is talking about the real problem. Can we take a few moments to confront the elephant in the room? Taylor blames Eric and Brooke for the crisis, but it's actually Ridge. This man has been ping-ponging with these two women for 35 years. He doesn't need Eric whispering into his ear or Brooke blinking her eyelashes. Ridge Forrester is essentially incapable of committing to a single woman. Period. Taylor, a world-renowned psychiatrist, is unable to identify the most evident pattern in soap opera history. She's not fighting Eric or Brooke. She is fighting Ridge's compulsive wanna-be-wanted by two women at the same time. The man thrives on drama. He needs the conflict. A wedding would necessitate a decision, and we all know Ridge would rather jump from the Forrester building than make a final decision. Quick answers for B&B fans. Question: will Ridge and Taylor actually marry? A. Ridge confesses that he will be unable to attend the wedding between September 8th and 12th. Question: is Eric actually manipulating Ridge? A. On September 4th, Eric plainly told Ridge that Brooke was his actual destiny. Question: how does Thomas react to all of this? A. Thomas feels upset and directly accuses Brooke of destroying his family. Question: has this happened before to Ridge, Taylor, and Brooke? A. Ridge has married and divorced both ladies several times during the past 35 years. Look, I've been following this triangle since the 1990s, and Taylor deserves so much better than being Ridge's safety net. Will she ever learn? Will she ever grasp that the issue is not the people around Ridge, but Ridge himself? Probably not. Because this is soap opera country, where people make the same mistakes for decades, and we still watch. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. This is the drama we signed up for, and Rebecca Budig is killing it as Taylor right now. The desperation, frustration, and barely restrained wrath are Emmy-worthy. Mark my words, Taylor's charge is only the beginning. This powder keg is poised to explode, and the aftermath will devastate the whole Forrester family. Taylor blames Eric and Brooke for Ridge's failure to attend the wedding. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, September 8th, state that Taylor Hayes will blame Eric Forrester and Brooke Logan for Ridge Forrester's wedding cancellation, while Luna Nozawa rejects Lee Finnegan's warning. At Lee's house, she'll notice that Luna's troublemaking habits could lead to larger difficulties. Luna's obsession with Will Spencer increases the likelihood that he will be her downfall. Lee will try to stop this with another lesson, but it hasn't worked so far. That is why it comes as no surprise that Lee's next warning will also be ignored. Lee will deny the idea that Will is a viable love option once more, urging Luna to realize that he is out of the question. The last thing Lee wants is Luna to go after Bill, Spencer's son, and end up back in jail. Nonetheless, Luna will not let up on her pursuit of Will and will continue to stage phony positive pregnancy tests. Lee will be unaware that Luna has already gone too far with Will as a result of her appearance that night as a masked mystery lady. On Monday's B&B episode, Thomas Forrester will lose his cool as he considers Brooke's grasp on Ridge. Brooke will give as good as she gets, pointing out that Taylor, not Ridge, proposed. Brooke will see it as proof that Taylor is pressing for the marriage. Thomas will complain about Brooke earlier disrupting Ridge and Taylor's happiness before urging that it cease now. We'll watch Thomas defend his parents' love and discuss the upcoming chapter. However, Thomas will not have any updates on the awful news from the Forrester guest house, where Ridge recently acknowledged he was unable to choose a wedding date or marry Taylor. Taylor will wonder why Ridge is applying the brakes, but she may already know the answer deep down. This is about Ridge and the magnetic draw he still has for Logan, particularly after Brooke's close call in Italy. However, it will be easy to blame Brooke for manipulating the issue, and Taylor will not mince words when it comes to Eric. Taylor will accuse Eric of tampering with Ridge's mind and forcing him to leave her. Ridge will make it plain that he will love Taylor forever, even if it is not the love she expected. Taylor will realize that her last opportunity at happiness with Ridge is slipping away, and she will declare that she will not allow him do this. Taylor will make a frantic appeal and try to keep her engagement together, making her look very sad. Taylor Hayes had reached her breaking point, and the entire Forrester mansion seemed to shake beneath the weight of her accusations as she stormed across the marble floor, her voice echoing with the rage of a woman who had been humiliated, manipulated, and betrayed far too many times, her wedding dreams now hanging by a single fraying thread. And in her mind, their the scene had been set for days, ever since Ridge began to show signs of hesitation, ever since that quiet conversation between father and son in the Forrester living room on September 4th, a conversation Taylor had not been privy to but felt the ripple effects of in every cold shoulder, delayed text, and carefully chosen word Ridge had offered her since. A conversation where Eric, in his deceptively gentle way, reminded Ridge that his true destiny, his true home, as Taylor hurled her accusations, Brooke, ever the picture of poised innocence with that faint smirk on her lips, denied, deflected, and in her own way, flaunted the Italy trip that had rekindled something deep and familiar between her and Ridge. A trip Taylor could not erase from Ridge's mind no matter how many candlelit dinners or tender family moments she tried to arrange. The bold and the beautiful had always thrived on this triangle, but this time the stakes felt higher because Taylor was fighting for more than just a wedding. She was fighting for her dignity, her sense of worth, and the belief that after years of being Ridge's second choice, she could finally be his first. But as the week of September 8th to 12th progressed, Ridge's indecision hardened into a heartbreaking admission. He couldn't marry her, not now. Not with the ghosts of his promises to Brooke whispering in his ear. Not with Eric telling him to follow his destiny. Not with the weight of history pressing down on every step he took toward the altar. Taylor, in her desperation, turned to her children, Thomas and Steffi, pleading with them to help her keep this family together. Thomas, ever the volatile protector, lashed out at Brooke with a ferocity that made even Ridge flinch, accusing her of once again destroying their family, of inserting herself where she didn't belong, and of weaponizing her history with Ridge to steal him away just as Taylor was about to find happiness. Brooke, in classic Logan manner, stayed firm, reminding Thomas that Ridge had free will, that she had not forced him to do anything, that Taylor had been the one pushing for this marriage, and that destiny was destiny regardless of Taylor's wishes. Meanwhile, in a subplot that mirrors this web of obsession and manipulation, Luna Nozawa continued her reckless pursuit of Will Spencer, ignoring every warning Lee Finnegan hurled her way, warnings that grew more frantic by the day as Lee sensed Luna spiraling toward another scandal, another set of bars, another dark chapter that could destroy her life just as surely as Taylor felt hers crumbling with every hour Ridge refused to choose her. Luna, with a dangerous glint in her eye, had already donned the mask of deception once, luring Will into a night of confusion and passion, and now she plotted to seal the deal with fake positive pregnancy results, a plan that made Lee's stomach churn as she confronted Luna in her apartment, pleading with her to let this go, to walk away from Bill Spencer's son before it was too late, before she ended up in jail, before the entire Forrester-Spencer-Logan web, but Luna, like Taylor, was not ready to give up. She saw Will as her golden ticket, her path to power, acceptance, and a life she had always dreamed of, and in the same breath, Taylor saw Ridge as hers, the man she had built her hopes around, the father of her children, the man who had promised her forever more times than she could count, only to yank it away whenever Brooke batted her eyelashes or whispered the word destiny. The Forrester guest house became the crucible of heartbreak as Ridge, with that maddening and Eric, they've gotten inside your skull again. Her voice trembled, but her words were as sharp as glass, cutting through Ridge's phony uncertainty. Eric, overhearing part of the conversation, stepped in with paternal seriousness, stating that he only wanted what was best for his son, that he was simply reminding Ridge of his history, legacy, and heart. But Taylor saw this as treachery disguised as wisdom. She accused Eric of meddling, ruining her happiness, and using his influence to support Brooke's never-ending quest to regain Ridge. Brooke, never one to back down from a confrontation, lashed back, arguing that Taylor's engagement was based on pressure rather than desire, and that she had pressured Ridge into a commitment because she knew deep down that he would drift back to where he always belonged. That was the sad fact that tormented Taylor in the late hours of that September night. Ridge always slips back. 35 years of history, of marriages, of divorces, of promises made and broken, of families fractured and rebuilt. The carousel had spun so many times, and yet here she was again, clawing at the brass ring only to have it snatched away at the last minute. Thomas raged. Steffi attempted to mediate. Finn watched in wary silence. Bill Spencer smirked from the sidelines, knowing that any fracture in the Forrester family would eventually play into his hands, and Luna plotted her next move somewhere in the shadows, the threads of her obsession weaving themselves into this larger tapestry of betrayal and longing. Taylor's desperation turned to resolve as the days passed. If Ridge would not battle for her, she would fight for herself, and perhaps, just perhaps, she would follow Brooke's lead and seek comfort elsewhere. Whispers about Nick Marone's return circulated across Los Angeles, and Bill Spencer, ever the opportunist, appeared at the perfect time, offering Taylor a drink, a shoulder, and a knowing look that said, "You deserve better." And she did. But will she take it? Or would Ridge Forrester, the everlasting waffler who required 2 women to feel entire, lure her back into the cycle that had defined her adult life? The bold and the beautiful promised fireworks, but what it delivered was something far more devastating. The slow implosion of a woman's hope, the tightening grip of a family's manipulation, and the quiet, insidious power of 2 people, Eric and Brooke, who believed they knew what was best for Ridge, no matter what it cost anyone else. And as Luna ignored Lee's final warning and pressed send on a fake pregnancy test result that would set the Spencer Forrester Logan world ablaze, Taylor stared into the California night, her engagement ring heavy on her finger, her heart heavier still, and vowed that this would not be the end of her story. Not this time, not again. Not while she still had breath in her body and fire in her veins. Even if it meant burning the whole dam house down to make Ridge see what he was losing. Taylor. Hayes could feel the walls of the Forrester mansion closing in on her like a vice. The air thick with perfume and betrayal. The silence of the corridors echoing with whispered conversations she was no longer privy to. And as she walked past the gilded portraits of generations of Forrester men who had played God with women's hearts, she realized that this wasn't just about a postponed wedding. This was about a lifetime of being positioned as second best, a lifetime of being the fallback option when destiny didn't cooperate with Brooke Logan's latest seduction campaign. The September 9th morning sun spilled across the estate like an accusation as Ridge avoided her eyes over breakfast, sipping his coffee with the air of a man trying to convince himself he was noble for tearing a woman's heart apart, gently rather than brutally, and Taylor, who had spent her entire career reading people, felt the familiar ache of professional irony. She could diagnose trauma in her patients, but not in herself until it was far too late. Thomas had been by her side all night, his jaw clenched, his phone buzzing with unanswered texts to his father, his anger simmering like a storm on the verge of breaking. Steffi, torn between loyalty to her mother and an almost Pavlovian reflex to protect her father's fragile ego, urged calm, negotiation, and time. But time had always betrayed Taylor. Taylor could feel Brooke circling, each conversation laced with faux compassion and subtle reminders of Italy, of promises made under Tuscan skies, of Ridge, and I have been through so much. Taylor, you know that. Eric, the elder statesman, had already played his card, the quiet midnight talk that had planted the seed of doubt Ridge nurtured now like a poisonous vine, and Taylor could see it in his eyes, that look of a man remembering another woman's touch while sitting. Yes, the bold and the beautiful was a carousel, but Taylor's passion gave it dangerous speed. She wasn't just angry, she was humiliated, and humiliation was fertile ground for revenge. When she faced Eric directly in the Forrester study that afternoon, the talk began civilly, almost clinically. She described her findings, her hurt, and her concern that his well-meaning advice had turned into sabotage. Eric, glass of brandy in hand, initially denied it, but the slip came when he said, "Ridge has always been happiest when Brooke is by his side, Taylor. You know that as well as I do." And Taylor saw the truth. He truly, deeply believed it, and thus every word he'd spoken to Ridge had been infused with that bias. "You didn't just give him advice, Eric," Taylor snapped, her voice rising. "You made a decision for him and dressed it up as wisdom." Brooke was drawn to the argument like a moth to a flame, her heels clicking across the foyer, her perfect blonde hair gleaming under the chandelier as she entered with that infuriating calm. "Taylor, this isn't about me," Brooke murmured, but her tone revealed her satisfaction. Not in Taylor's agony, but in Ridge's unavoidable attraction to her. "It's all about you, Brooke." Taylor shot back, and for a brief time, the psychiatrist became the scorned woman, and years of restrained rage gushed out. Every wedding ruined, kiss interrupted, and moment stolen replayed in her mind like a highlight reel of agony. And then there was Ridge, striding in as if summoned by their battle cries, looking like a man standing between two cliffs, aware that the earth beneath him was falling no matter which direction he went. His words were maddeningly soothing. He loved them both, always would, he just needed more time, and Taylor wanted to scream because she had heard that mantra since the early 1990s, and it always ended the same way, with Ridge in Brooke's arms and her holding promises like ash. Meanwhile, Thomas's indignation grew. In an outburst, he approached Brooke at Forrester Creations, his voice echoing across the design room. "You're doing it again! You are ripping my family apart, just as you always do." Brooke came back with her own truth. She wasn't the one who proposed. Taylor had pushed it, and Ridge was a grown man. As this war of words unfurled, another battlefield quietly took shape across town. Luna Nozawa's fixation with Will Spencer increased, her fingers quivering as she held the doctored pregnancy results on her phone, her mind replaying Lee Finnegan's severe warnings.